Hello, this is international football commentator Derek Ray. And make no mistake, this is your source for all things black and gold. Football just wouldn't be football without Berwick Rangers. Stand by for this edition of the Let It BRFC podcast.
Welcome to the Let It BRFC podcast. A change in co-host today. I'm joined today by Dave Buglass, Berwick Rangers Director. How are you, Dave?
I'm fine, Adam. Thank you very much. Hopefully I'm going to give you a better answer than Kevin Haynes normally does every week when you ask him the same question. But yeah, no, I'm good. I'm happy today. My wife's outside painting the deck in. I'm having some time off, so I'm delighted. Yeah.
Pretty chilled afternoon without donated ticket.
Currently, yeah. At the moment, it's been quite intense the last few weekends when we've done it, and obviously we had the Zoom yesterday with the club. With the fans and that, but yeah, no, so just try to take a bit of time back today and relax.
And we're also joined by Steven Ingram, who's Berwick Rangers Juniors now, chairman and coach. The name has changed, hasn't it?
Yes and no. It's the name will be going back on our kit. We've always been Berwick Rangers Juniors, our bank accounts say that, etc. But the club would like us to put the Rangers obviously back into the badge and have closer ties, so that's what we're doing, and we're really happy to do that as well. So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining. How are you doing in general?
Yeah, I'm great. I've been through a difficult time lately, but my work has been non-stop. So I work on a farm, so my work hasn't changed. We've been in every day, and it's been no different for me. So life is normal. Just the football's been a problem. Yeah.
Have you been keeping in touch with the coaches and some of the players as well, have you?
Yeah, we've had a few meetings and on the Zoom with the coaches, committee members, and my age group as well with the coaching. I've been setting them little challenges and skills to learn. They've been downloading an app onto their phone, so they've been out doing runs and bike rides, and they're just itching to be back. You know, they're sick of it themselves now.
Great. And we've also got Robert Curle, who's Berwick Rangers Juniors committee member and coach. How's it going, Robert?
Yeah, fine, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Good. You were talking before, you've been on a bike ride today?
Yes, so out and about getting some fresh air this morning, burning off the calories from the beers last night, I think. So,
Did you have a few?
One or two, just in the garden, socially distanced with the neighbours. So,
it got quite nice yesterday, didn't it? It was horrible in the morning, yeah. Then.
Yeah, no, it was nice. It was kind of windy, but yeah, it got kind of nice as the day went on.
So we'll start with Dave. You mentioned before we had an end of season board update over the weekend. How do you feel that went?
I think it went better than... I think we expected it to go well, but when you look at the social media stuff this morning, because obviously Dale's put it out today, the video, the YouTube recording, and then you get messages direct from people that, you know, I don't really know, John Bainbridge or Andy Thorpe, who sent me a message this morning, or, you know, Elaine Mallory. It's really lovely getting kind of messages sent to you direct on that. So, yeah, it went well. I think it was useful that we kept the slides that we had in January. And we were able to go back over those first and foremost and kind of look at, you know, what we'd hope to do and where we kind of hope to get to. So I think it was good in that we're all getting more comfortable with technology. You know, the ability to kind of run a Zoom session and you know, get people together pretty quickly without having to physically get to you know, Shielfield Park, and that also makes a difference as well. But I think everybody enjoyed it. I think the questions we got in advance were great. I think the directors enjoyed it as well, and you know, I think on the day we got some you know, other questions which we answered. It was great actually. At the very end of the video, if you've seen it, I know you were on it, Stephen. The lad from the official Scottish Lowland, I didn't realise he was on, and as soon as I heard his voice, you know, when you hear a voice on the radio,
you recognise him. Yeah,
clicked. It's like, you know, your ears prick up on that. So it was really good that actually the league in general had took a bit of interest and obviously had registered to come along. So yeah, we were delighted. I think that now marks officially the end of the first chapter for us in terms of coming back and try to structure a recovery and, you know, hopefully try and take the club forward where we think it should be. So very pleased.
I think because his question was relating to what year group does the juniors go up to. So Stephen, you might be able to answer that.
Yeah, well, so we're up to under 16s this year. we can go further in the Newcastle League. You can go all the way up to 21s, I think. But we'll find it difficult just because when the kids get to that sort of age, you're looking at guys going away to colleges. You know, we're not a big area at Berwick, so it is difficult to go beyond that and keep them playing on a Sunday as well. Because sometimes when kids get to that age, they sneak out on a Saturday night, and getting them out of their beds on a Sunday can be a little bit of a problem. So generally they go off to adults football then. So that's usually under 16s, you know.
Right, yeah. And so in terms of pathways, that's something that will be looking at, sort of bridging that gap from juniors at 16s to sort of first team, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, all of us who live in the town, myself, Steven and Robert, you know, we know that there's not really been a great number of local kids who've kind of made it all the way through. I think sometimes it does cause us a difficulty with the geography, you know, trying to, as Steven alluded to, get guys out of a bed on a Saturday or a Sunday morning, you know, after a long week at work, and getting them to go play, you know, further away, because, you know, for every away game, it's ultimately whether you go to Edinburgh, if you play in the Scottish leagues, or Newcastle in the English leagues, it's sort of 55, 60 minutes, so it can be tricky. On top of the time, it's also costly, you know, so transport costs, if you want to start using buses and stuff like that, are also, you know, not great. So yes, we definitely do want to put the pathway in place. There are enough really good, well-run amateur clubs in the town that I'm sure Steven and Robert just want the kids to keep playing when they finish, maybe at some stage at Berwick Rangers Juniors. But, you know, under 16 at the moment, why wouldn't we have an ambition maybe to go a little bit further and a little bit older? And that's something that we've got to work on with the guys at the juniors just now to kind of help. I mean, obviously we have got the Colts at the moment, which historically was part of, you know, I guess the juniors, a lot of the kids from that team have come out of, but we just need to look at it. You know, it's interesting because most kids, and I'll tell you a story later on, but most kids that, you know, play football won't progress. They won't make it. But at the same time, I'm sure all of us would want them to continue just playing for fun and enjoying themselves. You know, so there are opportunities there. I mean, I think one story that I heard last Saturday, and the guys probably heard it as well, was with Rami. Peter Ramage wasn't the best player in his team. I didn't realise he played with James Dury and all that lot. Is he your age? Yeah. So Rami was pretty honest and said he wasn't the best player in the team. You know, he just happened to have a good game the day that the scouts came and watched them, and he got taken away. So there definitely are boys and hopefully in the future girls in the town that can go on and have a successful career. So we just need to make sure we've got the facilities for them and the opportunities.
You and I spoke about some of your football memories from, well, we spoke about them earlier this week, sorry. Do you want to talk through some of them now?
Yeah, it's a funny thing, right? Berwick's a really odd place, right? I think people can be pleased for you, Curly, and sometimes can be, you know, who do they think they are type thing. I was never a good football player. I would probably be on the team sheet most weeks first with people like Colin Mole and Billy Young and them, because I tried hard and I worked hard at training and I would give 100%. Uncompromising defender, not a particularly skillful one. So I probably realised very early on that my business skills were probably more suited to helping run clubs, whether it be managing a team, coaching a team, or developing them. And I started my coach education while I was still living in the town, in the Borders with Dougie Anderson, who, you know, Dougie's always there for me if I ever need to speak to him. He's obviously been a coach at a high level as well. And I worked my way through till where I'm at now in terms of UEFA B. But along the way, I've probably done every job possible in football that constitutes a little bit of learning. So I remember writing to Jim Fleeton in 2007 and basically slaughtering the SFA's coach education programme, which was very brave, for volunteers like all of us. Because whenever you get to something like UEFA B, you have to give up some of your holidays on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to go to Largs. And when you've got a young family and you try to tell your wife you've just lost 6 days worth of holiday to go on a coaching course, it doesn't really go down well. So Jim asked me to come in and help him out, look at the pro licence just as it was about to start. And he asked if there was a different way to kind of deliver that. And I remember getting invited down after helping him design the course to Largs on a Saturday. The course was starting on the Sunday. And he asked if I wanted to come out for dinner with him. So I went out for dinner with Jim, and two other guys turned up. And little did I know the two people that were turning up. One of them was AVP, Andres Villas-Boas, who was he was scout at Chelsea at the time from Mourinho. So I'm sitting there thinking, I'm so at my depth, it's incredible. And then the next guy walking at the hall was Lars Lagerbäck, who was the Sweden manager. And I'm thinking, this is just unreal. But what was really interesting about sitting next to them was that they were really just nice guys. I mean, AVB was not a football player, never was a football player. You could see that in the five-a-sides that we played on the Sunday. With guys like Hughes and McCoist and Owen Coyle and them. Lars, he couldn't kick a ball to save himself. But then Lars Lagerbach, he was really interested in what I did for a living. So I'm in HR, and we talk about employees being the most important asset in the organisation. So Lars was really interested in what I did for a living, in terms of how he talked about, when he was with Sweden, for him, qualifying for the tournament was equally as important to the women that booked the flights and the guys that washed the kit. So, you would have at camps Zlatan and Henrik Larsson sitting in the room with a cleaner and a woman that booked the travel, because actually they were all part of the objective of actually getting to a tournament. So that for me was just a really amazing opportunity. And I guess off the back of that, I got a phone call, I remember, one Friday night, and Jim Fleeton phoned me and said, look, you doing anything tomorrow? And I said no. So he asked me if I would go and watch a game. I think it was Partick Thistle Dunfermline, and he asked if I would write a report on Dunfermline, which I'd never ever done before. So I looked some stuff up on the net. I had a look at Championship Manager, ironically, actually some of the screens in Championship Manager. So I went in and I wrote a report, and I think I ended up doing like 20 slides, which was a lot for a report with video and everything in it. And I sent it to Jim, and then on the Monday morning, Derek McInnes phoned me, and it was for Derek basically. So Derek was looking for a match analyst at St Johnstone when we were in the First Division. So I spent 3 years with Derek at St Johnstone, learned about Derek and Tony Docherty and how they ran a team, a club, how they coached. Liam was obviously there at that time as well, which is how I know probably Liam now as well. And then I spent a season with him when he went to Bristol City. Basically, I was looking around games in Scotland at play. So I was starting to understand what talent looked like, what you were looking for in a play. It's not just about the skills and ability, etc., etc. And then following from that, I was given an opportunity as well to do something with Scott Booth. And again, all just through the pro license. So it's about your network and building your network. And Scott asked if I would do something with him, and I got asked to go to Italy with the under-15s, the Scotland squad. So Ross McCrory was playing, who's at Rangers now, and Charlie Gilmer, who's now at Norwich. He was at Arsenal before. We played 3 games, Russia, Italy and Germany. But I remember the last game, the Russian game, and we played really well. An old guy came in, who was our ambassador from the Scottish Schools Network. I think there were 20 players in the change rooms, and I think he bravely said to them at that age, out of this change room, 2 of you will make it. And these were Scotland internationals at under-15s. And what he was trying to articulate, I guess, was just the difficulty in getting on and the number of kids that will drop out. So, done a lot of different things at a lot of different clubs that have stood me in good stead, which is probably why I accepted to come back at Berwick to this stage. And I know Robert knows me a little bit more, obviously, than Steven. Robert and I go a wee bit further back, just friends that we've got that are mutual. So I just hope I can help the juniors kind of get better than they already are. And it's not a position of arrogance, it's just a position of help for me. So.
Yeah, so the club announced the partnership with the juniors over the course of last week. What does this entail, and what are the main aims of it?
I'll go first, and the guys can jump in. I think for me, ambition-wise would be, I would love to see the guys grow. They'll tell you how many players they've got in a second. We'd definitely love to see the coach education improve, and I think they've been brave enough to say it's probably one area that they could do with help on. And we start this week with Liam Craig on Wednesday night. We've got a Zoom at 7:30, which will be for all the coaches, but possibly some of the older players we've said. I guess the better players we have, the better the coaching we have, maybe even more success than you've already had. So, winning trophies is ultimately a really amazing thing at the same time as, making the kids enjoy it, but more success for the club in terms of that. And then ultimately, I guess, seeing somebody come through, and Stephen can probably talk about this a little bit more than the rest of us, but Stephen's got his own lad who plays, who was at the juniors, he's now at Dunbar. So I think that would be it. Growth in size, coach education improvement, and then just see more and more success.
I think from our side, it's from the juniors, obviously we're kind of long-standing and successful, and it's we've now got an agreement between us that actually there's kind of points on both sides where we can hold each other accountable, and I think that's probably a key, that we've actually got kind of a formal words and an agreement and a writing that actually we can hold each other to account, and I know that kind of David and Craig have been really kind of supportive, and actually in terms of already in the time that they've been in, the regular contact we've had over Zoom and kind of this kind of format's been great, and I think that's just the kind of the starting point. I think for us really, it's in terms of the agreement, it's not going to be something that potentially bears a lot of fruit in the first few weeks or the first few months. I think it's about kind of changing attitudes and kind of culture, and actually just that, you know, the whole kind of new direction that the main team are going in with the wider community kind of involvement is just sits nicely with us. You know, we've got kind of kids from all over the town at a variety of different levels that, you know what, just come and enjoy playing football on the weekend. And as long as we've got the format to do that, whether it's through kind of facilities and pitches or coaches support, then, you know, ultimately it's for the kids at the end of the day. So the more kids we've got playing and enjoying it, the better it is for everybody. And if we can get somebody progressing through a pathway that ends up in the first team, then I think that's win-win for all parties.
Yeah, and I think from my point of view in that, if Dave's on about his playing abilities, I'm probably even worse than Dave. So the coach education thing is an important thing for me because I was never a footballer. I lived in the middle of nowhere most of my life in the countryside, so I didn't get to school sport. I didn't get to sports clubs. So I basically got chucked into taking my son's team because there was nobody else to take it. And I've had to look out there for my coaching ideas. I've had to go and find the resources. And I've been fortunate. We've had a few courses with Newcastle United at their academy. So we've been doing with Peter Beardsley, and we've had even Southgate came up and take a session one night as well. And you watch them guys and they inspire you a bit. So basically when we started talking about Dave and he said he could get these guys in to give us a bit of coach education, that impresses me. Because if we are better coaches, hopefully the players will be a bit better. I look back at taking my son's team initially, and I've got to be honest, I could have done a much better job. And basically because I didn't have the knowledge or the experience. And yeah, we had some success with the guys, but I think we could have been a little bit better. So
it's funny, the dad thing. Curly's got that as well, I guess. But
yeah.
It's the worst place in the world to be, and the best. I posted on, I think we won our first league title 4 years ago when Ben was 14 or 15. So, but I would probably be brave enough to say I probably ruined Ben's football. I think I've said maybe something like this before, Adam. But, you know, being a coach, being a dad, it's very difficult. And you probably always, your son always suffers the most. So you're two types of dad. Your kid's poor and you play them every week, or your kid's actually decent, and when you've got too many players you put them on the bench. And I think Ben had one season there before he stopped playing just now because of work and college, where I wasn't there, and he loved it. He played every minute of every game all season, and he was grateful that I wasn't there. And actually as a dad going to watch him, it was just great watching him enjoy himself. So
it is really tough though, I think, and you know, ultimately, you know, that's why I got back involved with the juniors. You know, my son was going, Daniel was going to the Thursday night sessions that kind of Steven and Neil run that are kind of football for everybody at a young age. And, you know, him and his pals started going to the kind of Matty Moore thing on the Sunday morning. And before you know it, there's 5 or 6 of them at the time who want to join the Glendale League. And I think you're right, that you know, in terms of Daniel's involvement, you know, he's there helping me set the goals up and the corner flags. He's still there at the end, putting the nets away, even if it's been raining the whole time. And you do probably manage him slightly differently than you do the other kids, because you're mindful of, oh, well, that's the manager's son, or, you know, just that kind of comment. And I do think you probably are kind of harsher on your own kind of son, almost to set an example sometimes as well. So if the kids are mucking on at training, it's normally him that gets the rollicking because he's your son. So it's an interesting one, and it kind of I'm obviously in the kind of middle of my coaching period. You know, with kind of Daniel at the kind of as we're moving under 13. So he's still playing, so mustn't be doing too bad. Not seeking them yet.
So it's been 18 years that since you first got involved with the juniors, Steven. You mentioned there, was it your son that was the initial reason behind you getting involved?
Yeah. So ever since he could walk, I mean, I've never been a footballer. I've never encouraged him to play football at a young age, you know. So as soon as he could walk, he had a football. Probably Rosie's, my wife's brother, is a big football fan, so Nottingham Forest, and try to brainwash him with that. So he would run about the house with the ball, break the ornaments, and that's all he ever did. And then he'd get to about 5-year-old, and there was Berwick Junior starter sessions with Sean Simpson at Prior Park School on a Saturday morning. So we took him along there, and he just loved it for the minute he got there, and he's just been football nuts since. So So a couple of years there, and then he moved on to Jimmy and Panda's sort of Thursday night training, which is the guys start there, and then basically they head towards teams. They get put into teams at roughly the correct ages, and away they go. So the two guys as well, Jimmy and Panda, also had an amazing knack at making you feel like that you would really love to volunteer and help the club. So before you knew it, my wife was a treasurer, and I was suddenly the coach of a team, which I'd never ever done before. And you just kick on from there and just kind of get on with it. And then gradually, well, my wife's been the treasurer for the club for the same amount of time, and well, I'd say work my way up to chairman. I've been moved up to chairman, which happened by accident a couple of times. And I just love it. I love watching the kids progress. I want to see that bit better at the top end of the club as well that we were on about before. I want to see that bit improve. And I know that's not going to be quickly, but that's the really big bit I'm looking for in the future for me, you know.
What sort of responsibilities does a chairman have?
I probably oversee all aspects of the club, as in poke my nose into everything. But I think we're really lucky. We have a great mix of people, skills and abilities on my committee. And, you know, you bring all them sort of pieces together to run the club. You know, we've got people that work in schools. We've got, you know, firemen, bank workers. And I think, you know, we can sort the problems out. We can deal with all the paperwork we've got today, the new legislation that gets put on us, everything like that. I think we bring a great mix to it. And I'm just there for balance. I see that as that's why I'm there. I'm just there to see all sides of an argument. And I vote on very little because I'm the chairman. I don't get a vote. So, that, you know, when we're moving in a direction with the club, everybody will vote. And I have my fingers crossed that it's not a draw. So I don't have to cast a vote, you know what I mean? So that's basically my job, you know, and I have to, you know, front up things, meet people sometimes, make the occasional speech. But really, I'm just a helpful person. I will help anyone from coaches to players to parents, anyone that needs help. That's me. I'm always at the end of the phone, you know.
I think it can be at times a lonely place as well, because I think all three of us have probably, I'm not saying lost friends, but we've all probably had moments being involved with clubs where sometimes the decisions you make are not necessarily the right decision for an individual, whether that be a kid or a parent or something like that. And, you know, what you're trying to do is you're representing over 100 kids, parents, etc. And sometimes you can get kickback and you can take it personally. I know I do. I'm quite soft, but and that really can grind a little bit with you. And I don't know how you feel about that, Steven. You've probably been in situations as well, Robert, where it's been difficult. You've probably not made the right decision for an individual, but it's been the right one for the club.
When I was asked to be the chairman, the man that had previously been a chairman, Jimmy Purdon, who'd been at the club for a long time, 20 odd years, his exact words to me were, he says, "Oh, you're going to be the chairman?" I says, "Yeah." I says, "They're wanting me to take the job up." He says, "Have you got any enemies in Berwick?" I says, "No, I get along with everybody, Jimmy." He says, "You will have." He says, "Just be careful." He says, "You will have." And I would class myself like you. I'm a bit of a soft person. I'll help anyone, and you know, not soft, but I will do anything for anybody that needs a help, because I know how difficult it is running a team, balancing your family life, your work, your other kids. My daughter hates football. My son's got a twin, and she hates football because we spent so much time with Kieran at football. You know, so I know how difficult it is, and I'll help anyone with anything. You know, I don't go my way to annoy people, but you can't help it, like you say. At times, you do rub people up the wrong way. You know,
I think though you do yourself a disservice, because you know, for me coming into the club, obviously, you know, I've been involved now for kind of 6 seasons, and you probably don't appreciate how much it takes to do it in terms of the time commitment and actually the stress levels. So, you know, yourself and Rosie, since I joined as a coach, have been nothing short of phenomenal. You know, you kind of, it's not just a case of kind of organising the players and away you go on a match day. You know, there's the whole, you know, the kind of right through from the safeguarding and the first aid aspects through to the kind of finances and the registration fees and the sponsorship that all comes with running the juniors, but also just even as things evolve. So if you look at the moment, I mean, we've got a call this evening looking at how we can start training up safely again with some of the COVID stuff. that kind of stuff, kind of sometimes goes unnoticed. But actually, there's a lot of thought, effort, and kind of time spent getting these things right. So and kind of certainly Stephen and Rosie and Sean and the wider committee kind of sacrifice hours of their own time behind the scenes. That isn't just a case of dropping the kids off and letting them play football, which sometimes I think people involved with football who have been involved in other type of things, like the scouts or whatever, kind of get a sense of what's involved, but a lot of the time people don't. And I think that actually, on a kind of standard weekend, you can sacrifice 7-8 hours easily without striking a bat. Arranging referees and pitches and things like that. But certainly since I've been at the club, if it wasn't for people like Stephen, that kind of sets the committee, sets the infrastructure, then it'd be really difficult to not only to kind of run the team, but to run the team correctly. We've got so many different aspects that we need to consider when you're progressing. That guys like Stephen are worth their weight in gold.
That's pretty much the role of a chairman, Adam. That's pretty and you kind of probably would think, well, what more can we give at a club? But I think it's going to be the stuff around the edges, probably, that these guys can run a pretty tight ship the way that they do it already. But if it's experience, as we've said, around coach education and just accessing the network of people that I can get and other things like that, fantastic. But if it's even things like, for example, we've seen how impressive our social media has been. The marketing and the branding and stuff like that. If that kind of stuff is going to help the guys with their stuff, then fantastic, because the more professional they look, and they already look professional, but the more professional they look, the more people are likely to knock on the door and want to come. Maybe the more likely sponsors are, maybe want to give them money, etc., etc. So it's probably all the stuff around the edges that just makes them the full package where we're going to help them. We're not here, as they would say, it's not like your granny telling you how to suck eggs type thing. It's like they know what they're doing, and they've been very receptive to people like me and Craig coming in saying there's you could maybe think about that, or you can maybe look at this. So it's really fine tuning. It's not redesign or reimagining type things.
How would you like to be in with a chance of winning £1,000 every month? If that sounds appealing to you, because it sure does to me, you need to join Berwick Rangers Supporters Club's monthly draw. For just £5 per month, you'll go into a draw with hundreds of other Dream Team supporters to win the monthly jackpot. In addition to the £1,000 prize, the Supporters Club will be donating £250 each month to a chosen local charity, with the rest of the profits from the draw going to the football club. For details on how to sign up, visit berwickrangers.com or message the Supporters Organisation on Facebook, Berwick Rangers Supporters Club, or on Twitter at BRFC Sup Club. Berwick Rangers Supporters Club, supporting your club and your community.
So over the 18 years, what are the sort of main changes that you've seen over that time, both specific to Berwick Juniors and in youth football as a collective?
For me, when I started off, it's rules and regulations. It's legislation on clubs coaching youngsters. I mean, it's coaching barges, it's first aid, it's criminal records checks, it's health and safety, it's risk assessments. The list of that sort of thing goes on and on. When I first came along, I didn't have a single qualification. I was sort of given a group of boys. My son was in a team. It was a sort of mix of ages, and the younger guys dropped down in age to play just how it suited the leagues, and that left nobody to coach our team. And the parents just kind of looked at us and went, "Oh, Stephen, you'll take it. You'll do it, won't you?" And you didn't like to say no, so you take it. And I had nothing, so when we first started out, you didn't have to really have anything. But I had one of the mothers she works in the school, Carla. She had a first aid qualification, so she was my first aider, and that was it. And then I had to work towards coaching badges and things like that, and that has moved on and on and on. You didn't used to have any qualifications; you just took a group of lads and away you went. Another thing for the club as well is, we would all have the same colours on, would be black and gold strips. But there'd be all makes. There'd be Adidas, Nike, whatever got bought. So we've moved that on in leaps and bounds as well. We've all got the same tracksuits now. We've all got the same strip on. The strips for the first time ever have all been sponsored by MSP and Simpson's Malt. So that's a huge thing for us as well, because all the kids look exactly the same now. And you see the stuff all over Berwick, and it looks great to have everybody in the same stuff. So I think that's made us more professional as well. And a big thanks to those guys for doing that. So that's the football, I think, is pretty similar to how it's always been. You're going away to the same pitches that guys went to 20 years ago, and they ain't improved a lot, to be honest with you, at the low level. But it's everything else around the club that's improving, and I think the tie-up with Berwick will help that as well.
Great. What's some of your memorable moments been from them, from your time?
You have some tough times when you're playing football. When you're away, things happen at games, and it's angry and annoying at the time. But when you look back at it, and sometimes reminisce with some of the boys. They're now 23 years old for the first team I took, and we actually laugh about it now. And I used to say that to them when they were 12, 13, 14, 15 year old. I says, we'll look back on this day and we'll laugh in a few years' time about it. But at the time it was serious. So there's some of the memorable moments have not always been the nicest moments, but it's winning things, it's the camaraderie, it's the friendships. We'll always say it's not all about winning, but it is about winning as well, because if you're not winning, people are miserable and you want to see the kids happy. Yeah. Just training with them, going away to Zwolle, to Holland. I mean, we have an exchange with that club, and that is one of the greatest things that the kids ever did in their life. Even Ramage. I mean, Peter Ramage sent us a signed Newcastle shirt a few years ago, and he wrote some nice words in it to take to the guys in Holland, and he said it's one of the best times he's ever had in football. And that's a guy that's had a big career. So
I had the same. Obviously, I talked to Jordan and Peter last week, and then I had a load of messages this week, just from people that had listened to the podcast, and they were like, I went as part of that. It was great. Like, it was great experience, all that sort of stuff. So it's that kind of thing that sticks with them, isn't it?
I went as a kid as well, and as I saw Steven shared some of the throwback photos. I don't know where my fringe has gone, but but I think you're right. It's the friendships you make, and a lot of the time, I think certainly my first trip was probably one of the first times you were away without your parents or a teacher. You've maybe been on a school trip, but you've probably never had the kind of trip away, and the kind of friendships you make kind of last and stand the test of time. Some of the guys that I was kind of away with then, you still kind of speak to regularly now and socialise with now, and I think it's that's kind of a number of years later. So I think it's definitely one of the plus points of what we do as a club, and the fact that it's stood the test of time and the longevity, from the exchange being established all those kind of years ago to still running now, I think is testament to it, and everybody that's been involved in it over the years. Disappointing, obviously, we had to cancel this year. We were due there a couple of weeks ago. I think Rami touched on that. One of his relatives was meant to be going, but that's just the sign of the times that we're in. But we're already kind of taking steps to kind of sort out for next year and to kind of and get that up and running as well. So it's just a fantastic thing, and it's just a great experience for the kids involved.
And I think that trip as well, this season, just to give a little flavour of it, that was probably started in the planning back October time last year.
Yeah.
So that, ferries, buses were booked then. We started paperwork around about sort of November, December time, to fill in group passports and all the rest of it. And people put a lot of time and effort into that, and it all came to nothing, So, there was a lot of people's work kind of wasted, as well as disappointing a load of kids, So that's the trials and tribulations of youth football, isn't it?
Yeah, we had Scott Booth committed us to go to Portugal at the end of June. So we had 3 girls squads going to Portugal to play in a cup, and likewise try to get the money off the kids for the flight, try to get the money off the kids for the deposit, which hopefully we'll all get back, because obviously the airlines have now cancelled the flights. Yeah, it's all great going to an international trip and an international competition, but the pressure that adds on the coaches and the parents, it's just phenomenal. So,
I saw, Stephen, you took teams over to Spain as well.
I didn't actually take them. That was basically we were listing this. Basically, that was one of the players was before Darlington went bankrupt. They used to do a development centre on a Monday night, a bit like Newcastle's United and things like that. And quite a lot of our players actually got into that development centre at the time. So basically what you were to do was work your way through it each year, and there would be a scholarship for one person at the end of it, basically to go to Darlington. Unfortunately, Darlington went bankrupt and it came to an end. But what they did do was they went to MIC tournament in Spain. And if you look, you can look that up on the internet there and look at all the players that have been there. The world's greatest footballers go and play in that tournament. It's one of the best in the world. Yeah. So one of our players, rocked up, went there, took part in the tournament, had the time of his life. Same thing, a couple of guys went from Darlington to Umeå in Sweden, played in that tournament. Barcelona youth teams were there. So opportunities for playing football around Berwick are there. You need to work hard, dedication, be lucky like Peter was and many other guys. Just have a good game on the right day, and you never know where it takes you.
It is a bit of a fallacy about football in the town and that. I mean, I think Curly's Highfields, I was Spittal. I was Highfields for a period, then I was Spittal and Highfields together, became better.
So was I.
Yeah. So, there's always been a heritage in the town for pretty famous clubs, and, every single one of those committee guys, whether it be, people like Reekso and that at the Harrow, or Kim Dixon and them at the Juniors, Twymouth Rangers, whatever, Stevie Ruffhead at Spittal, all these guys work incredibly hard for the teams, and you're never going to get, I think our ambition and vision a few years ago was one badge, for the whole town, and like as a Waldy, for example, where that is kind of like how it works, and they all club together, and all the players equate to lots of footfall, which means big investment, and they get the facilities. It's never going to happen in the UK. It's never going to happen in Berwick. But so what you have to do is try and kind of match up some of the relationships and just work a little bit better together in that. And I guess our goal really is to make sure that the three pitches at Ivinson, Old Shieldfield and Shieldfield are used as much as we possibly can. And obviously we had a wee bit of a win last week with the money that we got for the pitch repairs and that. But, you show people, we had a call actually last week with Kettering United, the chairman, Richie June, and a guy in America. So, and then just flukily on Zoom, I thought, I don't even know what our facilities look like. So I showed them pictures at Ivinson, aerial shots at Ivinson, Shieldfield and Old Shieldfield. They couldn't believe how much green space we had within 1,000 metres of each other. So as a complex, as a sports centre or a football theatre type thing, it could be fantastic. It could be amazing. So, and these are the kind of things that I think that, hopefully us working together will be able to make better.
Great, yeah. So, Curly, for yourself, you'd said that you'd spent 6 years with juniors. It was your son that got you back involved with that. What was your involvement with football prior to that?
So I played as a junior, badly in some cases, but played as a junior. And then our junior team at the time rolled into the Northumberland League, called ourselves Berwick A. We brought in kind of 2 or 3 more experienced players, but primarily it was the nucleus of our under-16 team. So I had a few seasons there. Just that kind of came to a natural conclusion, and I ended up going to play for kind of Noel Evans at Spital's second team as it was at the time. So had a few, loved playing for Noel, great guy, great footballer, and had some good times there. And just for a period of time, but the kind of football in the town started to kind of fade away. So, when I first went to Spittal as part of that kind of second team setup, that they had the kind of first team playing in the kind of Alliance Premier, we were kind of Northumberland League One. And just over that kind of period of time, players left and moved on, and it became one team. And then the last season there, it was kind of, struggling to put a team together. And at the time, kind of Highfields were in the same position in the town. And we ended up merging the two of them together. Can't remember, so probably about 2005, where it kind of came together, and we were called Berwick United, and ultimately played there for a kind of number of seasons. So under kind of Ian Knox initially, which was great. Michael Galloway was involved in it for a period of time, and we had a fair degree of success. Kind of some good young lads coming through that are still playing football in the town now. People like Woodser and kind of Michael Robinson. These guys were all kind of coming through. So I had a kind of decent spell, and just over time, as we alluded to earlier on the call, kind of travelling every week, in the Northern Alliance, when you go into kind of Carlisle and Penrith and Merton and different areas in Newcastle, becomes quite draining as the team became older and family commitments started to kick in, and it kind of fell away. And it was kind of reborn as kind of Highfields again, and rebadged as Highfields, probably in and around the time just as kind of Spittal started to kind of kick on again and be set up again. But actually, during that kind of phase when we merged together, kind of football in the town was kind of struggling a little bit, whereas at the minute I think it's kind of on the way back up again. With teams like kind of the Harrow and Twymouth Rangers and Spittal are looking at a second team, then kind of Highfields have got decent numbers, and it's good to see. So that's been my involvement. Kind of legs went, and you kind of stop kind of playing, or kind of start trying to play for the over 35s now and again, which Dave was lucky enough to witness a few weeks ago. It's not pretty.
You did all right.
It's not pretty.
But
so you kind of, and you kind of move on, and I still help with kind of Highfields on a running on a match day, and the training, the kind of assistant manager there, working for kind of David Wakenshaw, that's kind of long-standing stalwart of Highfields, if you like. But obviously now with the kids and the juniors, that kind of takes up a fair proportion of my time in terms of training and match days. But so yeah, my involvement with the juniors, kind of football in general, has just kind of evolved as the kind of. But the main thing is obviously with my son getting involved in it. That was what really brought me back into kind of the coaching side of the juniors. And it's funny how it evolves. I was looking back just at some of the old photos, and we had kind of 5 lads at the Glendale League. Kind of strips didn't fit. They're all kind of tiny to look at, and it's just funny that they're turning into young men. And it's really interesting to see them evolve. If the kind of the original 5, there was kind of 24 in my squad this season. So and so that's just been how that's evolved over the kind of time I've been at the club. They kind of move schools, and then the next thing you've got another power wants to come, and then another power wants to come, and then you realise you've got too many for one team, and so we now got Saturdays and Sundays. Just to give the guys football, but they're turning into men, that slowly but surely, and you don't realise it because you see them all the time. But when you look back at some of the throwback photos, you think, God, some of them are getting to my height, which is quite alarming, given that they're only 13 or 12. But it's really good to see them evolve, and from my side, it's probably the best bit is seeing the kids getting better and better every week. So that's kind of been my footballing journey.
Is that something that you need to be mindful of, like sort of people development as well as football development?
You kind of have to be. I think there's a bit of it. I think I was asked kind of how they view me. I think in the profiles we did lately, and it's probably strict. At times you do need to provide a structure or discipline, particularly with the number of kids that we've got playing in my age group. I'm very lucky. I've got kind of 5 guys that we've got kind of qualified, and Neil Parker, Graham Ambrose, Brian, Craig and Ricky that have all gone through their qualification. So I've got a decent network behind us, because without that, my age group would, it's just too much for one person to do. But actually it's from the training perspective, from the structure, from the safeguarding angles, you need that kind of support to run a team. But it has its challenges, it's safe to say.
It's funny though. It's a good question, Adam. We all love football, but I think that it's more important that they turn into just good young guys and good young girls.
Yeah.
And sitting back in that changing rooms in Italy after beating Russia, 2 out of 18 we're going to make it. So said nicely, most of them are not going to be professional football players. So, and that's the thing. Curly for his lad, and Kieran for Steven, and Rosie. You just want them. They work hard all week. They'll have jobs at some stage, and the fact that they'll go out and train 2 nights a week and just play with their mates on a Saturday is really, really quite important. And when they get their first house, they might ask one of their mates, like Michael Lee, to come and do some woodwork, or someone else to come and do some plumbing and that. Socially, it's just a really important thing that they keep playing, and I think it's funny actually. The time that we merged Sputland Highfields and Curly was around, I do see that football in the town has kicked up again, because there probably was a period where all the teams were struggling and people just simply fell out of love with it. So I think our job is absolutely about making these better young people and just making sure they've got the skills. And if most of them are not going to be football players, let's get the next generation of coaches up and running. Let's get some, one of the things we did when I was at Syngenta was Ben's age. As soon as they were, I think you have to be 17 in Scotland, but they were PVG'd, all of them. My squad were PVG'd, all of them, 18 of them, and they were all put through their 1.1 and 1.2 in Scotland. And instantly we had 18 young coaches that could go take younger kids. So it's maybe starting to try and remove the reliance on a Steven Ingram, a Robert Curle, or a Sean Jackson, and try and get some of the younger ones coming through that can maybe do some of the younger kids' teams. Because just because it's just Berwick Rangers Juniors doesn't mean to say the wee ones might look up to the older ones and they become role models and heroes. So, but yeah, I think the people development thing's massive.
The commitment you get with kids turning up, even just getting that kind of commitment for they'll come training once a week and they'll come at the match days, that just gets them into the routine, and I think that's important, and I sit here with two kids probably sat on their Xbox right now. It's it'd be very easy to kind of slip into that routine, particularly if on a December's morning when the rain's coming down. But the vast majority of kids don't let you down. They turn up regardless and commit to it. And it's not the greatest standing in the kind of in the sleet and the snow watching the kids play. But you know what? The fact that kids are willing to kind of turn up and come and do that is part of their personal development as well. I'm quite sure there's a number of mornings it's driven by the parents kicking them out of bed, but the reality of it is it's a good discipline, and it kind of sets them on their way in terms of developing as people.
And I think something as well as we're saying about coaches and developing people, we're not an elite academy, and we all know that. We're realistic, so it's not just about winning for us. And a lot of these guys are not going to be footballers at the end of it, but I hope as the chairman of the club that they enjoy their journey through football till they get to an adult age, and they'll go on about their business and they'll set up businesses, get wives, get married, get kids. And I'd like to think we've maybe shown them the right way in a few situations as they go through their life, that they maybe have learned more than just football skills, So, and I think that's important for us to realise as coaches as well. We're not an elite academy, and I think our guys realise that as well.
Curly, I've still got a couple of questions left for yourself.
Go on.
So first, what's been your favourite memory from being involved with the juniors?
That's a good question. I think, as we touched on earlier, my personal favourite memory would be from when I played, going to Holland. I think as we've already covered at length, so that's probably starting point. But in terms of since I've come back in, we had a degree of success a couple of seasons ago that saw us get promoted multiple times in quick succession, and we got to a cup final that year. Now we got beaten in the cup final, but we were lucky enough to kind of go on and kind of win the division we were in. And I think the sense of pride that gave the kids was great to see. But actually, because I've got the two different teams, I think that the thing I enjoy the most is really just seeing them coming on. And I think in terms of when you look at when we have like our end of season do, you don't realise how many people it impacts until we're all trying to get into the black and gold on presentation day. And it's, I think for me, when I first came into the club, I probably hadn't appreciated how much scale we had. When you come in, you've got your kind of little five-a-side team and a few of the parents helping you, and you probably don't really realise until you see them all at the presentation day, where everybody's got their white shirts and their Berwick ties on, and everybody's turned out smart, and we're all trying to cram in the black and gold, and you think to yourself that it's just there's so many different people impacted, and I think in terms of enjoyment, when you see some of the kids getting their trophies and things, and we've had kind of Berwick managers and players presenting, the pride that it gives them and the sense of achievement is huge. And even the kids that maybe have been unsuccessful in terms of some of the awards, I tend to get them kind of a little token memento trophy for the season, and the pride they get going and shaking kind of the Berwick manager's hand or player's hand, it just gives you that sense of pride and achievement that's job done for another year kind of thing. So I think that's the bit I enjoy the most. It's just seeing that kind of player evolution, and the fact that you get the kind of smile on the face and they're all chuffed and buzzing with each other, I think is great to see.
It is the simple things. I mean, it's like it's a product, Adam. I mean, what the guys offer is a product, and we've talked a lot about the Berwick Rangers product the last sort of few months. You've been involved in it, and we've tried to turn that round, and all the different things. I mean, playing the football on the Saturday and the Sunday shouldn't be underestimated. That's the fun part, but it is like the product. It's like that. It's funny that it resonated there, Kelly, when you were talking about the Player of the Year awards. There's nothing better than a committee member walking in, and the balloons are on the tables, and the kids come in. I don't know if you guys wear shirts and ties, but you just walk in and you think, what? See all that hassle I've had all season, and I got moaned at because I called a pitch off, and I had to let a play go because it was a poor behaviour moment and stuff like that. When you walk in, then it just makes it all worthwhile, and that's why we were keen to get this sorted out. And as Steven and Robert know us as Jacka, but Kelly, Craig and I wanted this right from the beginning, but we had to probably prove ourselves in the last 3 or 4 months in terms of what we were trying to do. So
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of times during the presentation yesterday about the sort of board being on trial at the moment. What do you mean by that?
Well, I was born in Berwick, in Castle Hills, so I know what it's like to live in Berwick, and I know what people in Berwick are like. And I know what people will be thinking about. Here we go again. It's just another Berwick Rangers moment, some waffle on social media. So I think we have to deliver on what we've agreed in the letter, the contract, the agreement, which the guys at the juniors helped us co-create. We didn't write that ourselves. And then just bit by bit, we'll start to win people back over. And that's not just with the juniors, that's with people in general in the town. And when I look at the people who've been putting money in to donate a ticket, lapsed Berwick Rangers fans who've never been for years and years and years, it's a little bit to the same extent with the juniors. We need to deliver coach education. We need to give them access to our pitches. We need to help them get even more professional than they already are. So, you get this constant thing about no Berwick person being in the Berwick Rangers team. And there are boys in the town that are good enough, full stop, end of. And for some reason or another, we've failed to kind of recognise that. So we just have to try and create as many opportunities as we can, Adam, just to prove that we are actually listening. And I think one thing that we've been commended on since January is we've been very transparent with every comms. We have a board meeting on a Thursday and it's out by Friday morning. We did yesterday and it was published today, and we're already getting. Michael Deans has just sent me a message as we were speaking, just because he's just had a chance to watch it back. So when I say we're on trial, it's more about, we do what we say and we don't just kind of waffle it. And whether it be the community day where Steven and Curle and the coaches and the parents helped us out a little bit more. Okay, it was cold. And we've had the ball boys and the ball girls still coming, and they helped us out at the Glasgow City game when we played Ponteland. It's just little things like that we just need to keep delivering on. And look, if you deliver lots of little things, then you get the good ball back. So
I think on that as well, Dave will say, I don't know, it wasn't brutal with him, but when we first started talking about all this stuff, I was pretty clear with him that if things that were agreed on didn't get delivered, that would be noise, not from me.
No, you were brutal, Stephen. Let's just have it said.
Well, no, I was just being honest with him. Probably in the past, there's been possibly times when we've maybe been going to get closer together in the past, and it's all fell apart. And look, this was long before I was here, and even when I was here previously, and it's always frittered away and came to nothing. So this time, the guys are genuine to me. I don't think they're telling us any lies. They're being open and honest, and they're doing that with the whole of the workings of the club at the minute. As far as I can see, there's nothing being hidden. It's all open and honest. And so I did say to Dave, I says, Dave, I says, I'm the chairman at the minute, and if we agree to work together on some things and it doesn't come off for your end, I'm going to get a kicking. Never mind Berwick Rangers. Yeah. And there'll be people in the town who will happily give me a kicking if it doesn't go well, Yeah. But I think the guys are genuine, and I think they're honest, and I think with the start of the foundation and that, it will be a big thing for Berwick, and it will build into a much bigger thing in the years to come as well. So I'm hopeful, and I'm happy with the way it's going.
How do you see the new partnership working with Berwick? So I know we've sort of already covered it, but what is it you can see sort of going into the future?
For me, for the chairman of the club, I just think for the parents and the kids to see that closer connection between the two clubs will be a benefit. I think the coach education thing is a big thing for our coaches. It will inspire the coaches. Every time I've been to a big coaching event, to Southgate or a Beardsley or whoever, somebody who's top-notch at what he does, it inspires you for a while, because it is a slog, as the guys have said before, and sometimes it weighs you down, you're busy at work, it inspires you on again. So a little bit of that will inspire the coaches. You inspire the coaches, you'll inspire the players. I hope the players are going to be a little bit better. Yes, I have this thing about a Berwick player being on the pitch. It's a big thing for me as well, a really big thing. And if you asked us about, what are some of the proudest moments for Berwick Juniors in the near past, it's a Regan Graham, it's a Kieran Ainsley, it's a Kieran Ingram, it's a Gary Windrum playing for the first team. That, some folk will go, promotion season, this, that, or the other. For me, it's not. Kieran Ainsley helped me for the last 2 seasons taking my son's first team, 16 and 17-year-old. And the guy's doing a top-notch job at Coldstream now, and he's been a good player. And when he pulled that shirt on and got photographed for Berwick and played on the park, that was a proud moment for me. that's what I want to see more of. So we need to do a better job with the kids. Berwick need a better job at the top end where we join them, and I think it's achievable. And the rest of the guys in the club will enjoy themselves, go into their work, get married, get on with their lives, and look back and say they enjoyed the time at the juniors.
Yeah. I mean, the coach education thing starting on Wednesday. Liam's actually excited, massively excited about it. He's never done it before. He's currently doing his A licence at the moment. He knows that's at the stage of career where he's at. For him, it's provided him an opportunity to come and speak to people and share his story and share his kind of view of what it's like to be a coach. And instantly, because he's the PFA chairman at the minute, he's got a network as long as our arms in terms of players that want to do it. So, he's talked about David Gray, the Hibs captain, Christoph Berra. This is all something that they need to learn. They need to be able to speak to people. So once a month, if not more, running Zoom sessions with coaches, try to explain to them how you set up a team or what you do at your training or how you get a bit of atmosphere in the changing room. Great. And to be honest, whilst it wasn't initially for the players, I think when I dropped the note to the guys today, it's like, get some of the younger kids on, because you're going to hear from a professional football player who, he's played at the highest level since he left the juniors all those years ago. So quite excited, actually, to be honest, to see how that goes on Wednesday night.
Yeah, we've had Liam a couple of times as well at our presentations. He's came down, handed the trophies out to the kids as well. So he's gave a bit back to us already, and it's going to be good to hear him talk.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, everyone. That was as much as I had in terms of questions. Do you have anything that you sort of want to ask each other, or anything else that you want to cover?
I'm fine. I think we're regularly speaking to David and Craig now anyway. So in terms of this kind of tie and partnership, it's great. I think it's it's the kind of the right path, the right direction for both the juniors and the senior team. And we just hope it's as successful as we all wish and hope it to be.
I think my thing as well is I'd just like to, guys from our club will listen to this. I'd just like to thank the coaches, the parents that put the effort in, up and down the road every week to Newcastle, round trips, 100-odd mile every other weekend. The kids themselves are putting the effort and the time. All the guys on the committee, Sean, our secretary, the amount of work he does sitting in front of a keyboard would bore me to death. I take my hat off to him. Like I say, the people that organised this year's Dutch trip, Carla, all your hard work went to pieces, but it's really appreciated, and we'll go again next year. And just everyone else on the committee, you guys do a great job. A lot of people thank me and they say, "Oh, Stephen, you did a great job." I quite often pick up a phone and pass it on to somebody else, and they do the job, and I get thanks for it. So thanks to all the guys. Everybody working together makes it what it is.
Thank you very much to our guests today, Robert Curle, Steven Ingram, and Dave Buglass. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Let BRFC podcast, where we'll be talking to Dennis McCleary about his favourite 1 to 11 of Berwick Rangers history. If you've enjoyed the episode today, please be sure to share it with your friends, family and followers. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll speak soon.